The story begins with three men in sheriff's uniforms chasing a man. One of the three men then shoots the man in the leg until he can no longer run.
Where'd he get to? Hello.
Then, we are introduced to the three men with sheriff's badges. There is Stillwell, the Mexican who is good at tracking, Dugan who is arrogant and temperamental, and finally, Ketchum, the man who just shot. Ketchum is the most sadistic and inhumane of the three. This was evident when he trampled on the wounded man, even dragging him using a rope tied around his neck.
In a bad way.
The three of them were hunting for something the man's companion had taken. When Ketchum managed to get his information, he approached him casually and coldly. Even though the man begged for his life, Ketchum killed him by strangling his neck.
Up out here in the middle.
I've tried my hand.
The story focuses on an old farmer named Henry. After his wife died 10 years ago from tuberculosis, Henry has to be both father and mother to his son Wyatt. His late wife's grave looks well maintained, showing that Henry was a good man and loved his wife with all his heart. There is also a man named Al. He is Henry's brother-in-law. Al owns a farm not far away. After Al came home, Henry and Wyatt saw a horse walking alone without a rider. They went to check it out and found bloodstains, indicating the horse's owner was injured and may have fallen somewhere. Henry immediately tells Wyatt to go back home, even though Wyatt wants to come along. Henry plans to follow the horse's trail to see if the owner is alive or dead. After riding for some distance, Henry finally finds the body of a man who seems to be the horse's owner. Upon examination, the man turns out to be alive despite a severe gunshot wound. However, what surprised Henry was a bag containing a large amount of money. Not wanting to get involved, Henry wanted to leave the man. However, his conscience pushed him back to take the man and cover his tracks as best he could so that no one would realize the scene. Arriving home, Henry immediately asked Wyatt for help treating the injured man. Henry realized that this man must be in trouble or, worse, being hunted by someone. Henry's guess is right because this man is being chased by three men with sheriff's badges, namely Ketchum and his two colleagues. The next morning, as the man had not regained consciousness, Henry tied his hands to the bed as a precaution, worried that he would be aggressive and harm Wyatt. Henry plans to return to the scene and asks Wyatt to stay and look after the man. During this time, Wyatt was forbidden from using firearms by his father. So, while Henry was away, Wyatt secretly took the gun Henry had hidden and practiced shooting behind the house. The wounded man's name is Curry. We are taken into his nightmare, where all hell breaks loose. Curry, who was a child at the time, saw a criminal being shot dead. He remembers the man's words, "Keep your head up, you'll be fine.
You'll be alright."
Meanwhile, Henry had arrived near the scene. He sees three men, Ketchum and his two colleagues, who managed to track Curry's escape. Here, we are shown how well-trained Henry is. Despite being just an old farmer, he skillfully crawls among the reeds to observe Ketchum and his two colleagues' conversation. Stillwell, an expert tracker, realizes that Curry has visited the place. He is amazed by the person covering the trail and concludes that the person is no ordinary person. The neatness and precision with which the trail was covered clearly show that an ordinary person would not have thought that far ahead. As they approached the reeds, they slowly headed towards a point where someone seemed to observe them. However, when they arrived, no one was there except for the crawling trail, signaling that someone was indeed watching them from that spot. At home, Wyatt is confused when Curry wakes up. Waking up in a strange house makes Curry wary. After managing to untie his bonds, Curry took a knife and threatened Wyatt not to move.
You must touch.
When Curry woke up, he was tied to a chair. Seen Wyatt heating the knife and preparing to thrust it into the gunshot wound in Curry's shoulder to remove the bullet lodged there. Curry claims to be a law enforcer, aka sheriff, and he claims he is being chased by 3 bandits posing as sheriffs. Curry warned Henry to leave immediately because if the 3 bandits came, they would not hesitate to kill him. However, the warning seemed too late because Ketchum and his 2 colleagues had already arrived. Quickly, Henry grabbed his gun and told Wyatt to stay away from the window and do nothing.
From the window.
For the first time, Ketchum and his 2 colleagues came face to face with an old farmer who was neither too tall nor too big. However, this time, Ketchum was not as brutal as usual. Instead, he engaged the old farmer in conversation. Politely, Ketchum asked about someone with Curry's appearance. He claimed that Curry was a criminal who had stolen some money, and the 3 of them were law enforcers doing their job to catch Curry.
Lately goes by the name of Curry.
With his gun ready to fire, Henry replied that he had not seen the person mentioned. He claimed he was just an ordinary farmer who didn't want to get into trouble. Incredibly, Ketchum and his 2 colleagues left without any tension or commotion. Ketchum and his 2 colleagues rested in the area while discussing the old farmer they had just met. According to Ketchum, Henry held the gun unusually, unlike a typical farmer. They realized Henry had lied, and Curry was deliberately hidden in the house. As a result, Dugan is tasked with observing Henry's house and is warned not to act rashly, as they are waiting for the troops on their way to help capture Curry. Back to Henry, he tries to investigate Curry's origins to make sure whether he is a sheriff. From the story told by Curry, he is indeed a law enforcer. However, Henry was surprised to hear that Curry was born in the New Mexico area, precisely in a village called Fort Sumner. The village was the place that witnessed the death of a famous killer named Billy the Kid. As it turns out, Billy the Kid is real. He is recorded to have killed around 27 people for no apparent reason, and the murders have been committed since Billy was very young. Interestingly, Curry was a living witness to Billy the Kid's death. The nightmare Curry had was a flash from his past, as he saw with his own eyes how Billy the Kid was shot in the chest, which ended the history of America's most famous cowboy bandit. Henry also untied Curry after feeling that everything he said was the truth. However, shortly afterward, several shots were heard, which turned out to be from Dugan. In fact, we know that Ketchum told him not to act alone, but Dugan chose to act first due to his lack of patience. Henry must grab his shotgun and fight back to protect his son and home. As an ordinary old farmer, Henry seemed very calm in the face of this danger, as if he was used to such situations. He shot under the house just as Dugan crawled in there. Terrified, Dugan finally came out and was caught by Henry. Without hesitation, Henry kills Dugan by drowning his head in a puddle of wet soil, then throws his body into the barn to be eaten by his pet pigs.
I saw.
The others will be coming.
Believe a bit of it.
You ain't heard a word I just said.
The next morning, Ketchum and Stillwell went to Al's farm, where their goal was to find out who Henry really was. When Al refuses to open up, they beat him unconscious.
A lawman or something?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Henry and Wyatt are advised not to interfere because Curry is well aware that Ketchum will stop at nothing to hunt him down. Especially after knowing that Dugan is dead, Ketchum will slaughter them all. Curry, who still cares about Henry and his son, asks them to leave immediately and let him handle his problems. But just as they were about to leave, Henry and Wyatt were surprised by the appearance of Ketchum, who was not alone. He brings an army of cowboys who are ready to destroy his residence.
You gentlemen need something?
Anybody home? See, your horses are already saddled.
Stillwell also appears with Al, whose face has been battered, making Henry unable to stay silent. Wyatt is given a gun to keep watch while Henry makes a deal with Ketchum and his troops.
We're here for our fugitive!
This is where Henry's mentality is tested. He is asked to leave, but seeing the battered face of his brother-in-law, Henry doesn't want to just leave. He actually asked them to release Al and immediately leave his residence.
That, and I'll let you live.
You hear that, fella?
Ketchum, who had run out of patience, shot Al in the head, making Wyatt suddenly come out, and there was a shootout.
You still with us?
Henry, who had re-entered the house, told his son, "Keep your head up, you'll be fine."
Keep your damn head down. You'll be all right.
I just killed your man Al here.
Hearing those words, Curry was shocked as he realized that the old farmer who had helped him was the legendary cowboy killer, Billy the Kid.
He helped you escape. It's who? Miriam. Oh, what is she talking about? Bonnie.
Henry came out casually with both hands raised. Henry then proved who he really was.
Mark Joyce, friend.
He can cock a gun in 0.2 seconds, so most of Ketchum's troops are taken out, leaving only a few men alive. Henry is not only adept at using firearms but can also utilize knives to slaughter them all. With a clever strategy, he kills the troops one by one with just a knife and an axe. That left Stillwell, who was still on the loose. He looked terrified after seeing all his friends dead, so Stillwell chose to run away. However, Henry was waiting for him in front. Having no other choice, Stillwell pretended to surrender.
Te quedas con el dinero. Déjame ir. Nadie más tiene que morir. ¡Hijo de la chingada!
Not long after, a shot was heard from Ketchum. Apparently, he was still alive because Henry's shot only hit his right cheek. A jungle chase ensued, but Ketchum was clearly no match for Henry, the Billy the Kid. Ketchum's shooting technique was far below Henry's, who was used to killing people. When Ketchum ran out of bullets, he gave in to being killed by the cowboy legend. After everything was done, Henry returned home. Luckily, Wyatt is still okay, and Curry is also still alive. When Wyatt was told to fetch water, Henry, who was trying to treat Curry, accidentally saw a scar on his left arm. Finally, it will be revealed if it turns out that Curry is a plot with Ketchum. The scar on his arm is a sign of an agreement between him and Ketchum's group. Where Curry is indeed a sheriff, but he is a law enforcement officer who participated in robbing the money. Because he was too greedy and wanted to have the money alone, Curry was willingly hunted by Ketchum and his troops. So, why did Curry shoot Henry, who had clearly helped him? Since childhood, Curry has been haunted by the shadow of Billy the Kid, who killed his parents. As a law enforcer who thirsts for honor, Curry is desperate to kill Henry because he thinks it is an honor to be able to kill a legend like Billy the Kid. However, the feeling of pride does not last long. Wyatt appeared and killed Curry on the spot. Henry told Wyatt to take good care of himself in his dying moments. He also warned that when the news of his death became widespread, there would be gossip about his past life. Henry asked Wyatt not to believe the rumors. After burying his father's body right next to his mother's grave, Wyatt has no more reason to stay there. He also chose to go on a long journey to find his true identity. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy, hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice just to be sure. You should watch the full movie. Thank you very much for watching.